for most of us, I'm sure, a new and different perspective, something really interesting to think about. A brief point of clarification, there are human studies concerning PFAS and lactation. This is the first information I've seen concerning cattle. Um, uh, and it's fascinating. So thank you. Our next speaker is, of course, the owner of the herd that was already mentioned. Um, and it's my pleasure to introduce Art Schaap, who's a fourth generation dairy farmer. And he is the owner and manager of Highland Dairy. He's involved in conventional and organic production of milk and farm commodities. He's the owner, partner of Tucumcari Mountain Cheese Factory, and he has 30 or more years of experience in dairy marketing. He's been married for 33 years, and he has 3 children, married, and 5 wonderful grandchildren. We all agree grandchildren are wonderful. It's now my privilege to introduce and turn the microphone over to Mr. Schaap.
Hey, Art, you need to unmute.
There you go. How's that?
That sounds good.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for inviting me, and it's good to see the familiar faces again that I've met in Washington, D.C. and hear their stories. And it's nice to look at all those but just to finish I want to thank John. The way he broke that down is really good, and I appreciate all his help. Like I said, I am a 4th-generation farmer. I've been on this farm for 30 years. Basically a farmer, this is our 401k. We're not a big investors, but we invest in land and animals and crops and farms, and then we sell that. Then Uncle Sam tries to take your capital gains, and then you move on to the next chapter of your life. And so, when we was approached in August we want to come check your water, it was like the second time they came out over the years. And we said, yeah, go right ahead. So that when they came out, just like the other folks, they checked the water and found out I had PFAS. They started delivering me bottled water, and we're like, what the heck are they doing? And so we started doing research on the PFAS, and then that's when we contacted the New Mexico Department of Agriculture and said, hey, we need to have our water checked, and we need to have our milk checked, because milk's 90% water. I'm not a fool. And so I said, can you check this for me? And so once they did that, he said, well, if we check it as positive, you're gonna have to dump this milk. I said, well, I understand, but I have a cheese plant, and I didn't want to be held accountable for this PFAS in my cheese and my customers across the nation. And so they went and checked, and of course it was positive. And I believe at the very first one was about 800. And I think it got as high as 2,500 parts per trillion, because when we cut back on milk, on feeding the cows high in rations because we're dumping the milk, then that PFAS rose higher. And so the last one I just did a month ago, it was still at 500 parts per trillion, and that's been 2.5. We've been doing this for almost over 2.5 years. So come August of 2021, it'll be 3 years we've been messing around with this deal. The good news is the USDA had a program called the Dairy Indemnity Program, which helped me out until December of 2020, and now that's not going. And so now we're trying to work with the USDA and New Mexico Department of Agriculture to get rid of the animals, because they thought that you could rehabilitate them, but you can't. The beef industry doesn't want to buy them. The FSIS put a APB out on my animals. Don't buy cows from Highland Dairy. They could have PFAS in there. Even the rendering plant that I thought, well, if I kill the cows and get rid of them, I could send them to a rendering plant. that makes dog food, they don't want it in their dog food. I don't think anybody wants it in their pet food. So basically, the food industry does not want this. They don't. In fact, the milk industry doesn't want to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about it because they don't want to be tied to this thing. I've been trying to get. I've put filters on this dairy to clean the water, so that way we can mitigate see if we can fix the animals. It's slowly working. It's slowly coming out. But it like John shows you, it's years. It doesn't just take months like the FSA wanted. It's FSIS wanted, Food Safety Inspection Service. It takes years to get this out of the body. It's like with humans, it takes years. So when I found out my well tested with all the PFAS, PFXs, you really got to count them all. You just can't count one or two like the Air Force wants to do. And my highest well was almost 30,000 parts per trillion on PFAS, PFOX, PFX, and all the things. Me and my wife had our blood tested. I was at 28 parts per trillion. She was at 7. So we have 4,000 cows stranded. We've lost to date 1,200 animals dead. As you see in the pictures, we've dumped 1,500 loads of milk. It's in the land. We had our land tested, and it has positive PFAS in the ground, which gets into the crops, which gets back into the animals again. The DOD and the USDA and the FSIS, they're all pointing the finger at each other, trying to see who's going to take the blame on it. Nobody wants to take accountability on this because the DOD is basically, they're the 110-pound gorilla in Washington. And so they're basically telling the USDA and the FSIS, don't do nothing because there's no, like John said, and you guys all know this, there's no EPA standards. So we got to put pressure on the EPA. And I feel like we got a good EPA guy right now with the new administration. I think he's has got a lot of experience with PFAS, is what I've heard. And of course, under CERCLA, if we had a FDA standards, then CERCLA would take care of this problem, and they would have to fix it. And I think a lot of people in this meetings, they would be forced to fix their problems too. So some of the health problems that I've witnessed at the dairy, of course, John mentioned it, the milk decline 10 to 20% over the years. We've had premature births and dwarf calves, and we've seen a breeding reduction in our pregnancy rates in our animals. We've had, of course, now we've seen it a lot, the poor body condition in the older animals and a higher percent of death loss. And like John mentioned, it, some of this could be coming from because they're stranded, but I'm also seeing the cows are just becoming weak and dying. My personal issues with the PFAS and my family, every time I go to the doctor, he told me over the years before I knew I had PFAS in my water, hey, your cholesterol's high. So he put me on medication. You got high blood pressure, hypertension, put me on medication. He says, you need to drink more water, Art. You need to drink more water. Your kidneys, I got this test, and I don't know what they call that test, but you need to drink more water. So I'm over there guzzling this PFAS water while it's hurting my kidneys. And then of course I'm on the edge of diabetes because your kidneys, and then you got to take meds for that. So I'm full of it. I'm pharmaceuticaled out. But now that I'm on clean water, I've been fighting it and working out more and trying to get off those and try to, as my blood test reduces in all these other factors, and I'm doing a better job of drinking clean water. It's slowly getting better, but I'm not done yet, and I'm not sure if it's going to be 100% ever correct. I had 2 daughters. One of them had issues with kidney stones real bad when she was young, and we'd never put 2 and 2 together. And she had problems with that with her kidneys all the time, and had to get those worked on all the time. And then I had another daughter who could not get pregnant, and I have the one girl that spoke, the lady, she talked about her and her husband could not get pregnant. My daughter could not get pregnant either. And she had to do the in vitro insemination way to do that, and take I forget how they do that. They get on shots and they set them up, and then they in vitro inseminate them, and she has two wonderful kids. So we're blessed there. So it's kind of funny as I'm hearing all these people talking it. We had the same thing, and so I just that's my story. And like I said, we're devastated with our business. They ruined our lives, but I think that we're going to come full circle here. And I think with the new administration we have, I think they're going to do the right thing. And I appreciate all you doctors and people that are reporting about this in the media. We really appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schaap. One of the panelists mentioned, and it's worth saying out loud, thank you for doing the right thing for the public regarding your cows and the milk. That is a leadership position, and thank you for your data-rich presentation as well.